Zach, Mike.
What?
Is this Mitch and Mike's VO journey that we're
Mitch
on?
and Mike's VO stands for voiceover journey. Yes, it is. And on today's show, why don't you introduce our guest since you have closer ties to him?
This is Zach. He just goes by Zach on his thing. Zak Shellabarger, as I hear his name pronounced so many times. Does the British guy pronounce your name properly in all of those?
It's so funny to hear your name mispronounced by a voice so silky smooth, right? You're like, man, he'll mispronounce my name in the credits, but I want it to be that way because Paul, who does the narration in those credits that you're referencing, such a silky, beautiful voice. I want that to be my name.
Please
mispronounce it any day.
Please tell me how it's actually pronounced.
It Shellabarger or Shellabarger?
Zak Shellabarger.
Shellabarger.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
So there's an extra N that gets inserted in there that's not supposed to
every
be there.
time. And every time there's an extra N.
You think I would have asked this before the podcast, and I didn't. So that's my bad.
Then what would be the icebreaker, Mitch? This is what it has to be.
You should be the host. You know what's going on here. Yeah. Zach, thank you for joining us. Zach and I met through mutual friend / client / many slashes to Mike Regan.
Friend of the show, Mike Regan.
Friend of the show.
Fill-in host occasionally, because I don't know if you know this, Zach, but we try to keep the Mitch and Mike thing going, so when Mitch isn't here, we have a friend of ours named Mitch, sub for him, and when I'm not here, Mike Regan has sub. So it's always Mitch and Mike. Always. Yeah.
Otherwise, you got to change titles, and
right?
What are you going to do?
And that would be weird.
Too much. Lots of crossing things out.
Too many thumbnails.
But so Mike Regan got you two together, and Mitch has done some work for Zach. So I guess the first thing is, Zach, why don't you explain to our listeners who you are and who you work for and what you do there?
Yeah, well, my name's Zach. I'm the senior writer and one of the producers at Pray.com. Pray.com is a faith app, one of the #1 destinations for faith and prayer. And we produce a whole host and suite of different podcasts that help people learn the Bible in new, interesting, and cinematic ways and engage with their faith in a deeper way. Taking something more than a traditional sermon, but really immersing people in the story of the Bible and the story of God. We have millions of people who have downloaded our app and even more hundreds of millions who have listened to our podcasts. We have seen just amazing fruit from the labor of people like Mitch and other voice actors who have given their passion to some of our projects. And really, it's been a joy to do all of it.
Dude, it's truly amazing what you guys do over there, especially for someone who I've tried to read the Bible. It's too wordy for me. It's too much for little Mitchell over here. So when I started,
chunks, Mitch.
It's so much. Anyway, it's very tough.
You got to start somewhere. 3 verses a day.
This show,
3 verses a day. Start somewhere.
The show that you guys put on, which is the entire Bible, I believe, you've done in audio drama glory, has made it so accessible for me, and acting in it and listening to the other ones, because it's so fun. So I'm just going to thank you for that part. But you didn't just land there. Obviously, you're in a big group of people who put all this together. We were talking before the podcast. You were an actor at one point. Where does this all start?
It's interesting just how you accidentally fall into different fields in different places, right? I played sports in high school. I also did theater and acting, mostly Shakespearean theater. And I think what Shakespearean theater did for me is it gave me a love for words. If anything else, Shakespeare gives you a love for words. It gives you a love for the way that words can be arranged to make people feel different things. And even words like Shakespeare, not as accessible to all of us, right? Much like, how you're referencing the Bible, Mitch, it seems inaccessible, but when performed in a certain way, even if you don't know the words that are exactly being said, you feel something, right? And so I think being a Shakespearean actor, way back in the day, actually helped me gain an appreciation for words. And so I took that into my life going forward. I became a speaker, and I worked for some nonprofits. I was a pastor, still am a pastor for a long time, and speaking in front of many, many people, and getting to use words to compel and to move and to make people feel something, feel something deep within themselves, and also connect to a higher power. And so it's that love for words that made me become a freelance writer working for Pray.com, until eventually the stars aligned, where the projects I was working on were gaining momentum too fast for me to be a full-time pastor and work for nonprofits and freelance for Pray. So went on board full-time for Pray to make some cinematic biblical stories full-time. And Mitch was a part of one of our podcasts called The Chosen People, which did very well and continues to compel people. So on the whole Old Testament dramatized. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's really amazing, and that's something that as Mitch was saying, it makes it more accessible to people who maybe, because the Old Testament can be dry. I mean, if you're like, I'm going to start reading the Bible straight through, and you start in Genesis, and Genesis is great, and then you Exodus, and then all of a sudden, okay, Exodus bogs down. Oh, but then it picks up again, and then Leviticus, and then you just, and obviously you didn't do a drama on Leviticus, because it would be basically an audio drama of people talking about building a temple, the minutia of it. But
it's coming.
There's enough in there where, I mean, if you can take all those amazing stories in the Old Testament and build a drama around them. And I've listened to a couple of them that Mitch has done, the Jonah one, and I can't remember what the other one was, but really, really well written, really well performed. And again, I mean, it's one of those things that I love to be able to point people who are like, I don't know, the whole faith thing, and like Mitch has said, it's hard to read the Bible. Sure. Well, listen to this. This is the story dramatized, and it maybe hopefully will get people in the door to at least open their minds and their hearts and their ears to hearing the Word of God performed, and maybe it'll pique their interest to go, wow, that was really cool. Let me go actually read the book of Jonah and see how that played out.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting to get meta, kind of the book within the book, is that's how Jesus taught, right? He told stories. And so he took all these biblical concepts and all the minutia of what you see in Leviticus that seems a little ethereal and out there and inaccessible. And he took it to the masses, to the craftsmen, to the fishermen, to, the podunk people of Nazareth and Galilee. And he taught through storytelling. And that's predominantly what Jesus did. And so really storytelling is one of the greatest works we could do to reflect God himself, right? Tell good stories, compel people, right? And that's what you guys, try and do in your profession. It's what I try and do in mine.
And how do you funnel that from acting in, plays early on, but then you become a writer, and then now you're pairing your writing with the Bible and creating these stories that maybe have to fill in some gaps that the Bible didn't quite, you know what I'm saying? Some emotional gaps or conversations between people that the Bible might not have had.
Yeah, I'm lucky to also, live in a time where, people have kind of gone before me. You look at kind of adaptations of the Bible all over the place, right? The Chosen is, the most prolific example right now of what you see, in Angel Studios. And so people are a little bit primed to receive that type of stuff. But I'll also say, a saying of mine has always been, don't let facts get in the way of truth. Right. And I think sometimes we can get a little too dialed in with treating the Bible kind of like a history book instead of a book of truth, right? Deep truths that need to be communicated. And if we need to communicate a deep truth that's in the Bible, but abstracting it out and adding, different characters, different figures, some music, some sound effects, and maybe stretching out these conversations, then we feel it's like a service to the truth to kind of bend the facts maybe a little bit. It's like, did this actually happen? Maybe, maybe not. But we're communicating the deeper truth, right? That kind of undergirds the whole story. And so we serve that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is what you're doing is a dramatization. It's not a sermon. It's not, it's one thing to go, to take the pulpit and say things that maybe contradict the Bible. That's a no-no. But if you're doing a dramatic interpretation of the book of Jonah and you add a ship captain that wasn't in the Bible, that's part of being able to tell the story. That's one of the things that I've enjoyed about The Chosen is like there's one particular scene. I'm going to go off here a little bit, but I know you've seen it. And Mitch, if you haven't seen The Chosen, you need to watch The Chosen. It's amazing. But there's one scene where Jesus is talking to Peter and he says something, I forget what it was, but it was something that was an actual line from the Bible. Where, and I've read it before where it was like, it comes off, I'm like, Jesus was sarcastic, haha. And he said the thing to Peter and he turned and he walked away and he smirked. And I'm like, I totally, Jesus was the most important figure that's ever been on this earth. And yet he was 100% human. And that they laughed, they cut up. He was not serious all the time. And so I love to see that humanization of him in that. And that's one of the things too, about your, podcasts and things that you've done is it kind of, we always hear the stories and you grow up with the felt boards and the teacher telling the stories and everything, but to hear them kind of a story fleshed around the few chapters that exist about Jonah, or about, whatever character in the Bible is really cool.
Yeah. And you get to self-reference too in ways, I don't know, to reference actually a scene that Mitch performed with Jonah. I don't know if you remember this, Mitch, but it's something that sticks in my brain. It's the scene where God tells Jonah to go to Nineveh. And, if you know anything about the book of Jonah, Jonah doesn't want to go, right? That's kind of the whole point, right? Jonah doesn't want to go because he's prejudiced against these people, for maybe good reasons or bad, right? Like, and probably a mixture of both, right? And I have Mitch's character, Jonah, say something along the lines of, go get a bleeding heart prophet like Hosea. He'll accept anything, right? And
I started,
it doesn't actually say that, but Hosea and Jonah were contemporaries. And if you kind of know the nuances and the layers of the Bible, is Hosea did some weird things. God asked him to marry a woman of the night, right? And to express God's love,
and her name was,
for people.
Her name was
right?
Gomer, right?
Yeah. It's like, so not just a woman of the night, but a name like Gomer,
woman named
right?
Gomer.
Gomer.
Yeah, jeez Louise.
Gomer.
And so Mitch's character, and he performed it beautifully, which is like, go get a bleeding heart, prophet like Hosea, with some spite in his voice. You get to immerse people in the world of the Bible and not just the exact line by line reading of it, right? And so that's something that's also really fun to do in projects like these. You get to dive people into the world of it, right?
I guess now that I'm thinking back to it, I wish people could get to be a part of a little something like that. Like, maybe in youth group, everyone picks a character and, they got one of your scripts or something and they get to, some of them are a little naughty, maybe take out the naughtier, murderier bits, but like just being able to put yourself in the shoes of one of those characters or a couple of those characters also takes it to another level that I really appreciated. I was like, oh, that's what this person might have been thinking, or
humanize them a bit, right?
Exactly.
I think the felt board kind of lauds these people as heroes when, they were more anti-heroes than heroes more often, right? When you really dive into this, imperfect people face planting through life, and I love the cast of voice actors that we had perform The Chosen People in particular because, everyone got to kind of grow in their own arc, right, throughout it all, and having messy people, have messy characters, it makes for a good show.
And it's like watching waves come in. Another thing I didn't realize about the Bible. I'm learning so much. I learned so much working for you. these characters come in and their story comes in and it kind of all comes to a head. It crashes, you learn something, and then new characters come in because there's a whole era of new kings and stuff. And maybe there's, a David bobbing along. Okay, David's there forever. I don't know how many Davids there were, honestly. But
just one really rangy voice actor named Jonathan Cotton.
His life.
And, I'm like, David is really prolific, this guy.
There's some guys that are there for 12 verses, and some people that are just like a quick mention, and there's some people that have a book. But David, he spans through First Samuel and Second Samuel, and then he wrote a lot of the Psalms and he's pretty prolific, if you will.
He's hard to kill, that David. Yeah,
thank goodness.
That's his whole deal.
So when it comes to the creative side of all this, obviously the Bible is the Bible. Hopefully they're done changing it, and now you're a creative who has created these dramatizations of these certain parts and may create other parts. Leviticus, maybe one day, the temple building. I put the one up. Maybe it's a kid's book. Okay, two.
It's building blocks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's Bob Ross. And then I put the gold filament right here.
Beautiful.
This little gold filament needs a friend.
It's the nicest. Yeah. But where do you then find more creative leniency? Where do you get to put your next creative heart? Where does it go after this?
Where does it go, like after a project like this?
That I've done? After a big old
man. So it's interesting. I've gotten to evolve at Pray.com from just being a writer to then being a writer and producer, then a writer, producer, and marketer, right? And so I've gotten to see, kind of every project, recently in the past 2 years, I would say, been with Pray full-time for 4 years and then, part-time in some capacity for 7 years. And I get to see these projects now go from cradle to grave pretty much, right? And so a part of what gets to happen now is, I've worked so hard and so passionately, pouring myself out creatively here. And now I get the pain and absolute agony of trying to market it to people and have to listen to all the feedback and have to figure out how to get it in front of people. Because, you guys know this as creatives, and many creatives would attest to this. It's such a vulnerable thing. It's such a vulnerable thing to, because this is a piece of who you are, being creative in this way and giving it to someone. But then you have to have this entrepreneurial mindset, and you have to have this marketing mindset of, well, I've created this thing. Now we got to get an audience to come in, right? And that's been a painful and beautiful process. It's been a humbling process too. Of all right, I've done the heart work of this project, this creative work. And now I got to figure out how to generate email campaigns to get people to click into this, right? I got to, tweak call to action so that people, go to our website and download the app so that they can listen to even more awesome things. And so that is it is my great privilege and my great curse also, right? Because I'd prefer to not have to read every single comment on the work that I do, right?
Boy.
To then see how I can, do better next time, and how I can, I'd prefer to just create the thing and just pretend that everyone loves it all the time. Yeah.
So who do you market a product like this to? I'm assuming you're going to churches, but I know there's more than that. How do you market something like these dramatic podcasts?
Well, a lot of people find us, a lot of people trust us because, we've done a lot of projects like this. Bible in a Year with Jack Graham is a podcast that has experienced so much growth and such a valuable or such a loyal listener base. And so a lot of them will, carry over, and audiences will kind of cross-pollinate and stuff there. But what we also do is we love creating animations and different devotionals so that people catch us on Instagram and catch us on TikTok and YouTube and social media. So they'll find us that way. right? And then they listen to the podcast and they're really enriched by it. And so they download the app and they get to experience the suite of different awesome leaders and pastors and sleep psalms and bedtime stories, right? That we also have to offer, right? So it's there's a lot of nets, right, that we pull from. And ultimately, we're all trying to guide them to one place, which is pray.com, so that they can have peace in their pocket, basically, right? And that's the goal.
Is that the tag? Like, tell me that's a tag. That's a good
It's
tag.
not the tagline.
Oh
it's
my
just,
gosh,
no,
dude.
it should
That
be.
You just came up with that off the top of your head?
That is
in your pocket?
gold.
Tell you, marketing hat is on.
Yeah, well, write that
later.
down so you don't forget it.
Peace in your pocket.
That works.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So what else is on the table? Like, first of all, I mean, aside from, you mentioned animation, aside from the Old Testament stories that Mitch worked on, what other creative products does pray.com have currently that you've already got out there? But then, if you can tell us, like, what are some of the things that are rolling through that creative head of yours to what's the next
Teasers.
thing?
Yeah. Well, I got my start at pray.com by doing something called biblical sagas, which were taking every single story of the Bible from beginning to end and kind of packaging it in this epic little vignette. Right. And that became our biblical sagas, where you can go on our app and you can and we paired it with the very talented Todd Habercorn voiced the entire series for us, just narrating these things. And then we got a 200-piece orchestra to do an original score for it. Yeah, all sound effects and just like beautiful cinematic experience. And so those were then made into Bible in a Year with Jack Graham, which we got to see chart in number 1 on Spotify and religion, top 2 in iTunes. Much like The Chosen People, it just blew up. And what's been great about that is that Jack Graham has continued to really see the value in the impact that Bible in a Year has had. And so what we're doing now is we're taking that amazing project that we did with him so many years ago and that has impacted so many people. And now we're making that into video, and we're trying to like animate and so you can find that on social media. You can find that at BibleInAYear.com. That's what we've been really pouring our resources into now, and our creative strength to kind of see, okay, there's this thing that's blessed so many people. And there's small little vignettes too, right? So it makes it easy for us to kind of dip our toes into animation and getting these things out. And so Bible in a Year has really been our passion project right now. And, more to come, right? As we continue down the queue, hopefully The Chosen People is next in line to, get some stuff.
Move into the New Testament.
We also ride the wave, right? Whatever seems to work out.
Yeah. Do you do any, or have you thought of any, like, just like original stories to, whether it's podcast, audio drama, whether it's animation, whether it's anything of that nature?
Man, I enjoy me and my boys. I have 3 boys, and me and my boys love listening to like all of these original stories and stuff. So it's a personal like passion project of mine, just with my children, to write adventurous, like immersive stories. But I think we at pray.com right now, our priority is making the Bible come to life for people, and finding different ways to make it come alive for people in that way. Now, there's other side projects that we do, right, that maybe aren't stories, but are like deep reflections, motivationals, and stuff of that nature. We just launched a podcast series with Tim Tebow.
Wow.
It's 165, devotionals of him giving reflections just on God and on faith and on the Bible. And his wonderful wife, Demi Leigh Thibault, she's also doing some like bedtime Bible reflections for us too. And so, no, fantasy or dramatized stories in that nature, like where it's extra biblical. Not yet, anyways. But we do have some other cool stuff.
You know what, Mike? Before you asked that question, I couldn't even fathom what you were talking about, to be honest. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, they already got all the stories. I get it now. I've seen these movies. God's Not Dead. That's one of those stories. I get it now. For anyone who's wondering, and no one else out there is wondering, but anyone else out there wondering what a non-biblical religious or Christian story looks like.
And that's the thing is, like, it's over the last, 15 years, faith-based entertainment has really gotten a foothold, because you've got your, and I can't remember the guy's name and I can't remember the studio he has, but really kind of started small time with Facing the Giants and Courageous and Fireproof and they were small time and definitely like better than previous faith-based content, but still had a ways to go. And then you've got Angel Studios that really popped up and started producing some of these some of these things. I Can Only Imagine, and what was the one with Jonathan Ramey about Frisbee, the guy from the 70s.
Lonnie Frisbee and the Jesus movement.
Yeah, the Jesus movement, and that had Kelsey Grammer and just like and then the David movie that just came out.
I've always loved that.
I auditioned for that.
A friend of mine.
I cried during that movie.
Oh, it was so good.
It's hard to get me to shed a tear lately.
My grandchildren loved it so much that we've been playing the soundtrack every day.
Oh man!
And so I'm like,
I guess I got to see that one too.
Yeah, David was really well done, and a friend of mine, Mike Siporkin, actually got to do a voice in it, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, so it's just, and then you've got The Chosen, which is really, it started as a crowdfunded thing that just exploded because it was so well done, so it's just there's more and more appetite for faith-based, Christian-based entertainment. And that bodes well for Pray.com. And so, I really hope that your projects get a lot of traction. And there's definitely an audience out there for the things that you're producing.
Yeah. I always hearken to, the way that Lord of the Rings has really impacted people. Lord of the Rings is pervasive, right? You see it just baked into the psyche of an entire generation because of the movies, but even before that, the books. And I think it's because it speaks to these deeper things that we all long for and yearn for. The battle of good versus evil, and the sliver of hope that we're all forced to hold on to, or else like descend into nihilism, right? It's these stories of light and dark. And I think the emergence of faith-based content and faith-based media is really, it's a cry for help, honestly, because we've had just such a long stretch of shows like Breaking Bad, which is a work of art, by the way. I mean, I'm not hating on Breaking Bad, but Breaking Bad does speak to an entire genre that really like hit the scene of nihilism. Really, like there are no heroes and we're all villains.
Yeah.
And
anti-hero movement,
you just kind of give into it. Right. And that's what makes you interesting. And I think faith-based media is really making a resurgence because there's like this deep cry in all of us to like, well, no, there is evil and there is good. And what if there was media, or what if there was a story that I can ingest, right, that actually called me up higher, instead of just reminding me of how sick the world is and how sick I am, right? And so I think, pieces of art and pieces of work that call us to be better, right, are really making a resurgence for the better.
I definitely have to agree with that. And I wonder, the way Breaking Bad can reach so many people is because, like you were saying, it speaks to certain parts of people, and it can be whatever it wants within the realm of, was it on NBC or something? Whatever the producers and the owners of those things allow on their show can exist. Within faith-based stuff, a lot of it, there's certain things that you just aren't allowed to do, or certain hoops you have to jump through to make it not upset the greater listener and reader and watcher of those things. So how do you say in the audio dramas you had some killing, because there's killing in the Bible.
Yeah.
You had some sexual moments because those exist in the Bible. But is it tough to sort of maneuver around those and still try to reach the same amount of people?
Yeah, I usually reference two of my favorite Christian movies when I really think about this stuff. One is Passion of the Christ, right? Passion of the Christ, Mel Gibson, just bananas.
So
right?
good.
Gory as all get out, but
Yeah.
reaches something.
But it was
guttural.
real.
It's real, right? It's real. And so if I'm going to put in there's some scenes of like sexual abuse, right? There's some scenes of just intense violence and vengeance and gore. And I think you want it to not be self-gratifying. You don't want it to be provocative for provocative's sake,
Right.
but this is heavy, and it's supposed to be heavy. That's kind of I think the thing is,
For the proper audience sort of thing.
it's supposed to be heavy. So don't just write something in, right, because you just want to get a rise out of people. It's supposed to do something to you. And so the other one of my favorite Christian movies is a movie called Hacksaw Ridge, right?
Yeah.
And
Never seen
just it's a World War II movie, and
Andrew
about a
Garfield.
pacifist. Yeah, Andrew Garfield, about a pacifist who becomes a medical doctor in World War II, and he refuses to hold a gun, he refuses to kill, but he's just surrounded by absolute gore and mayhem, right? And it's in that type of storytelling, it's deeply Christian. It deeply expresses the messages of Scripture while using intensity and just craziness. But it all serves the purpose. It serves the story, right? Like I said, let's not let anything hinder the truth, right? And that includes, right, self-censoring,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay, you proved me wrong.
So there you go, Mitch. You got
Thank
homework. You got to
you.
watch The Chosen. You got to watch Hacksaw Ridge.
David.
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah, Hacksaw Ridge. You said that, and immediately the line hit my brain. Lord, let me just find one more.
Just one more.
Just one more.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm crying about it just thinking about it now.
Oh,
golly,
geez,
it's so
dude.
good.
It's
It's so good.
Man, one of
But-
the most
and that's
epic
the thing,
scenes.
is like, yeah, like faith-based entertainment has elevated. It's gone beyond the cheeky stuff that's niche, and that the straight to church VHS tape of this really poorly written, poorly acted by non-professionals kind of thing, to where now there's so much quality content. You have no excuse to not explore it some. And so even if you're not a Christian, there's a lot of people out there. I mean, Mitch has seen Passion of the Christ. There's a lot of people out there that went and saw Hacksaw Ridge, not because it was a underlying faith-based movie. It was definitely not marketed strictly as faith-based. It was marketed as a war movie, but also with that tinge. And so you knew going into it. But it's very well done, acted by some very mainstream Hollywood actors and stuff. And so I think that there's just like we said, there's more appetite for it, and more Christians and Catholics and other people are like, I want to see more of this. For so long Hollywood strayed away from it because it's like, oh, it won't sell. Well, now they've proven that wrong. It is selling, and it is getting a wide audience. And so now we've got these other mediums of the podcast audio drama that's really starting to gain traction, because people want to put it in when they're on the treadmill or when they're driving to work or whatever. And so that's really great to see Pray.com being able to jump on that and really reach a broader audience, hopefully. And hopefully it's just going to continue to grow for you.
Yeah, think of us as the hopeful counterbalance to all the true crime that's out there in the podcast space, right?
Oh my gosh, dude!
You want to talk about nihilism,
Holy
right? I just did a 2,500 mile road trip, cross country from California to South Carolina, and a lot of true crime podcasts. And sometimes I had to have a palate cleanser of listening to a sermon or one of our stories.
It can depress you on the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of them are about being on the road, so
exactly.
Like there's a little spookiness to that.
Iffy.
Okay, you're on these long road trips. You got 3 boys. You got a family. You're still a pastor. You're a producer, writer, and marketeer of Pray.com. You have extra hours in your day. And how'd you get those? What's going on? How do you have time to shuffle all this around? And what takes up most of your time?
Man, well, I think one thing I never want to be known as is the I'll do it later dad, right? And so I think I've curated my entire life around being present with my children and my wife, right? So opportunities I say yes and no to, I absolutely curate it around, do my kids have a present father? Does my wife have a present husband? Now, am I perfect? Absolutely not. Right?
You're not?
No. Yeah. Surprise. But at least I'm there. Right. And so I've kind of tiered everything out from that. Right. And then, obviously putting food on the table, but also getting to create. I have had the distinct privilege that not everyone else has, is my full-time job can also be my creative work as well. Right. And that is a great privilege that I do not take for granted. It has not always been that way. It won't always be that way, maybe in the future. Right. And I don't want to take that for granted. So I'm in a sweet spot where I get to satisfy some of my creative energy and, do my day job at the same time. Right. And then the pastoring side, man, if you just look up instead of down, right, that's just going to happen. Right. There's people around you that need to be invited over for dinner, right? You're going to make dinner anyways. Might as well invite some people over, right? People that are lonely and, probably need a friend, right? So it's like, you're going to do dinner anyways. Hey, you're going to go to the gym anyways, or you're going to, go for a run or a walk anyways. Might as well call someone, right? And so I think it's trying to bake in fellowship and pastoring into the rhythm of my everyday life that allows me to still be a pastor, right? I'm going to go to church anyway, so might as well preach there, right? As well.
I don't have that talking in front of people thing. I'd be like, hello, I do like to talk to you about God.
Well, I'll say this. Talking in front of a mic with no one else in the room and like to a camera, I've had to do it a few times, right? Yeah, you'll probably notice in the chosen people, Mitch, I've had to come in every once in a while and fill in when people kind of drop the ball. And so it is terrifying. I would rather speak in front of 3,000 people than in front of a mic with nobody around.
I'm so glad we have our niche then, because this has become much easier, and the other one has not become much easier at all. Yeah, I love that answer, by the way. We don't always hear that, especially in creatives who you hear they're on all the time. Some people keep their phone next to their bed just in case an audition comes through at 4 a.m. Their weekends are not Mike. Some people's weekends are taken up by, work, and that's cool for some people. But being present with the people you care about, pretty solid, I have to say. Yeah, good on you for that.
And by the way, for those of you who are listening to this and not watching the YouTube broadcast, Zach looks like he's 19. So how he's been a pastor and done all these things and been with Pray.com for 7 years and has 3 boys, I don't even know how that's possible because, I mean, how old are you, Zach? I'm just going to go ahead and ask.
I'm 31 years old.
Yeah.
31 years old.
I was 31. I started to have the little streaks of gray and
Well, that's why I wear a hat all the time, Mike. I wear a hat all the time. I'm balding. These boys are making me go bald.
Oh no.
No, but you start early enough, and you just say yes to enough things, and you try enough new things. Try and fail quick, and I think that's what I've tried to do. Fail as quick as I can. Right? Try, get an opportunity, say yes, see where it leads, watch it inevitably fail and fall apart. Tragically, but at least I said yes to that at 18. Instead of waste my time, partying or whatever. I just said yes to cool opportunities and got to, get maybe a head start, but, got a lot of life to live and got a lot of lows I still got to experience, I'm sure.
I needed friends like you at 18.
In there with the lows.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's wild. I was not pursuing things like that at that age. That's pretty awesome. I'm only semi-recently, and no kids here, of course. But, Mike, I feel like you had another question in the can. I saw it in your face.
No, I'm old. I probably forgot what I was going to say. But, no, I just, that's the thing is I get from you, Zach, that, again, I mean, you're making, choices based on, you did just say right there that an opportunity presents itself, you went after it and you felt okay to fail. But I feel like you're also not just accepting everything that, you said your family, your boys, and everything is a priority. And that's great. And that's the way you need to be. I mean, I know a lot of creatives that are just, that's all they do and other things suffer. And so, I appreciate that, and your family will appreciate that. But that said, I mean, you got those creative juices flowing. I know that you also are prayerfully seeking the right opportunities, and I'm sure that there have been times out there that there has been an opportunity that's hit, and you've thought that sounds great, and then you prayed about it, and God said, "Yeah, maybe put the brakes on that." Have you had those experiences?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've had the opportunity a couple of times to take a position, especially in the church space, that would set me up to just kind of be the guy that everyone looks at and everyone comes to, and get to speak in front of all these people. And I've gotten opportunities to kind of ascend in certain areas, but then had to kind of assess, is this going to scratch my ego, or is this really going to make me who I want to be? Right. And we can kind of conflate the two sometimes, can't we? It's like, this is what would make me look the most impressive, or this is what would make me more money, or this is what would make me seem more talented, or get me in front of more people. But that's like ego stuff. And it's like, when I look at the most ideal version of myself, right? Like in my best moments of like, who would I look up to, and who do I want to be truly, and who has God made me to be? Should I say yes to that opportunity, like in that lens? And so I've had to say no, like to certain stuff, because it would, stroke my ego, but it wouldn't make me the man that I know I need to be right now, at least, right? And so I think a big part of my journey has been saying no to many things that would take me away from my kids, or that I know my ego can't handle right now. I think always being aware of your inner monster is actually really important. It's like, hey, I have the potential to just like cause some havoc here if I have that platform. At the way my heart is right now, or the way my mind is right now, the way my ego is just so easily puffed up. It's like, I've been trying to purposefully maximize my impact, but minimize my visibility. Right. So that's what I've been trying to do in this era of my life. When my kids are grown, when they've left the house, that might be the time I publish these books, or, I do these speaking events with like 10,000 people, right? That might be when I say yes to those opportunities. But right now, the name of Zach needs to kind of shrink a little bit. And like the name of Dad needs to be kind of like more my identity. But that doesn't mean I have to say no to like creative work. That doesn't mean I don't make amazing things. My job is to make people like Mitch famous. Right. My job is to make, people like Jack Graham famous. My job is to make, all these people, right, like get to be creative, give them something, give them a platform, and try and elevate them right now. Later on, might be me, right? But that's not now.
Wow.
All right.
Dude, I'm ego stroking all the time, and not in a weird way. All right, I don't know how you can keep yourself so. Obviously, that's faith based. That's a faith thing. I'm guessing you look at yourself through the eyes of God and try to imagine.
Well, it also, it's like I said, it's a privilege where I'm at right now. I get to work for Pray.com and make other people famous, right? Let's say, something falls through. I might have to make myself famous pretty quick so I can get a job, right? So it's
So
there's
you got the famous button,
for other
like
things, right?
Yeah. It's a big red like break when
Yeah, you break the glass, right? No, but I think it's you ebb and flow with, right, the seasons that you're in and the opportunities that are presented, before you. And right now, it's like, all right, let's endeavor to live a little quieter and make other people louder, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think you hit on something too that, I mean, I know, have being in church ministry and being in, because I used to direct drama at a church and, put on shows and everything. And there was an element of me that at that time I was young, and I liked being church famous. I liked being the face that people, oh, that's the guy that was in that Christmas show. That's the guy that directed that play. That's the guy that was in that skit in church and stuff. So, but I look back on that and I realized that, yeah, there was that element, and I hate that. I wish that I was doing it 100% for the right reason, not 50% for the right reason, 50% for me. And that's kind of where I've gotten now, which with the stuff that I do at my local church is just, yeah. I mean, I love to do the things, and I love to be in the vacation Bible school shows and things like that. But it's more about reaching people and not as much about me wanting to be out in front of people. So yeah, you get there, and not to say that there aren't still those times where it feels good when someone says, you know what, that was awesome, you did a good job, and oh,
Totally.
no, it wasn't me, it was the Lord, but really in your head,
Yeah,
I was
that
really
humble-
good. Thanks
that
for
humble
stroking
thing
my
was
ego.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Well, I think it's also having the personality to handle it, right, Mike?
Yeah.
It's I've done some work with Tim Tebow in this past project that we've been doing, and that guy has all of the heart to be famous. That guy can be famous. He's got it all, right? Like that, he can handle that. Just being around his team, even, it's like you can like that guy is able to be famous and like really say what he needs to say, right? But then you look at guys like Zach, it's like, I can't be famous, right? Like, it just can't happen, man. It's like you look at certain people and it's like God's elevated them to a certain position because it's like, man, they can handle it, right? That's kind of what I see in some of these pastors that I get to work with. And it's been a joy because we don't just do the dramatized side, but we also have these reflections and these, sermonettes that happen, with the stories, and getting to work with people that they're able to just handle that so well it's truly remarkable.
So now, what is your creative process like? I mean, you sound like a prolific writer because you write all this, and you mentioned novels, that you hope maybe somewhere in the future. So I'm sure you're writing some of that, things you and your sons are talking about, dramatizations and stuff. Because when you get an idea, how does that flow? Do you have like a process, or does it just like all come out?
I think some, this is kind of, I'm generalizing, but a lot of writers, some writers start with a framework. They know what the beginning is and they know what the end is, right? And they scaffold and build from beginning to end, right? You get a lot of like Brandon Sandersons that are like that, right? But then you get people that are a little bit more crazed and lunatics, like a Patrick Rothfuss, right? Who will just go and see where it ends up, right? And I'm more of that lunatic side when I'm writing. Is I just kind of start somewhere, and I like to surprise myself with where it ends up. And I figure if I'm compelled in the moment and I'm surprised in the moment, then maybe a sliver of my audience will be too. My readers or my listeners will be too. And so writing biblical stories is interesting because you already know the ending, right? So I kind of, maybe that's just by nature of like me just trying to create chaos because there's already so much order in the stories. I would try and create chaos by just kind of meandering through it and seeing where it goes, right? So I think it's trying to create as many surprises for myself as possible. And then after all the mess is spilled out on a page, that's when I clean it up, right? That's when you go in and say, this is absurd. This shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
That 45-page tangent, was not necessary. It was necessary for me just to spill it out on a page to make sure I'm not agitated to, going to bed, right? Just because it didn't get out. But yeah, you hone yourself in. But I believe in spilling it all out on a page because your passion's going to be there, and then shaving off after, right? And being a really harsh critic of yourself and self-editor, and seeing what needs to be shaved off after.
Interesting.
That sounds more fun, to be honest. And that's,
why not have fun?
Yeah. There are those moments where you like do something, you think of something, you're like, ha ha ha, but nobody's around. Like, hey, I still wrote a thing, but like nobody's there but you. Yeah. It can feel.
Yeah, that's where you have to
nutty.
be careful what music you're listening to, in the moment, right? Because you can make a not
skillet
intense
playing,
moment
and you're like,
super intense.
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's funny. We're not playing ChatGPT roulette today. But I have a ChatGPT roulette type of question that I've never asked anybody. If someone knew you for a while and they found something out about you, what would be the weirdest thing that you would tell them? Like, for real. I've known you for a bit, and then I found out, he actually DMs every, he's loves Dungeons and Dragons. That's not super weird to me, but you get the idea. Yeah, exactly.
All right, Mitch. This is on the table, right? This is me. Only very few people know this about me. It's not something I'm necessarily ashamed of, but it's not something I would say at a job interview. Right. So, just here's to hoping that, my prospective bosses or my current boss doesn't, dive too deep into, I love Pokemon. It's this part of me since I was 11 years old that just hasn't left. And now my sons are super into it. And I just have to really rein it in to not be super excited to watch it with them. And when they unlocked kind of the shows, it did something in my lizard brain. It unlocked this 13-year-old part of me. I started downloading all the Pokemon game ROMs and stuff like that. And I just started going deep into it, man. I like football. I like philosophy. I consider myself someone who's likes man stuff. I like, construction, projects around the house. I love just taking a beat, eating a burger, alone, and playing Pokemon ROMs. Yeah. Right. It's just a weird thing about me that I'm not, like I said, I'm not ashamed of it. It's just not something that you advertise a ton to people,
It doesn't happen a lot. Yeah. And us grown men have to be a little careful about it from time to time in certain more masculine circles.
Yeah.
Guys our age.
Nerd is the new cool. So
yes.
I feel like nowadays it's a little bit more, if you were at the gym and you were talking to a group of guys that was just, massively lifting, and you mentioned, I like Pokemon, probably at least half of them be like, oh, yeah, dude,
right.
and totally, get into it with you.
Right.
I think what's hard is in those old school Pokemon games, and then it shows up on the ROMs that you play on your phone, is it shows you how many hours you've played.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the shame comes in.
As an adult, you're
I'm a father of 3. I have a career. This shows I have spent 60 hours this month on Pokemon, right? It's nope, this is not okay, right? So it's a silly thing.
I like that answer. Follow-up question, favorite Pokemon?
Oh, favorite Pokemon? I'm gonna say it is Gardevoir. Gardevoir is my favorite Pokemon. Nice psychic type, green. Yeah.
Okay.
You can find it in Pokemon Emerald, in particular is what I'm playing right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a first for me. And that evolves
I know
from...
nothing about Pokemon except for Pokemon himself. Just because that's what it's called.
Pikachu. How about that? I'll say
Yeah,
Pikachu.
I know Pikachu sounds familiar as well.
We can't. It can't be Pikachu.
Can't be Pikachu.
Mike, you got any weird random questions here?
Weird random questions. I don't know if I have any weird random questions, but I do. I kind of have my show ender, and I'm gonna tweak it a little bit for you, because most of the time it's like, hey, what's your dream project? What would you like to work on? What would you like to voice? For you, you've got a lot of things going on. So I will say, like, in 10 years, in 20 years, I mean, obviously things are going to morph and grow for you, and you've got your fingers in a lot of different areas in the ministry. Is there something that you're like, I know I'm going to let the Lord lead me where he leads me, but it sure would be cool if he led me there. Whether that's like, being a missionary in Ghana, whether that's, writing the next, Angel Studios multi-million-dollar movie hit, whether that's, whatever it is. What's that thing that you're like, man, that would really be cool if that happened?
Yeah, I think in my moments of like desire, just of like, this is what I would really love to do with my life, and loving where my life is now, and in light of that, I would love one day to see all the things that we're doing with Pray.com now, with these cinematic Bible stories and trying to just really like abstract and tell the story of the Bible. I would love to see it fully produced into something that really outlives me and impacts people in a great way. You look at something like Passion of the Christ, that it has made its stamp on generations now, right? Of people seeing Jesus in all of his anguish and his passion and his love for us. I would love to create something similar to that one day. I think that's something that would truly, you make things, and I think as a creative, you're always worried that, they won't outlast you, right? That, they'll be forgotten in the same exact timestamp that you exist here. It's like, does this thing only exist as much as I'm able to put it in front of people? But I would love to make things that go beyond me, generations from now, that will be looked at and bless people, right? Can I make this thing, and can it bless people and exist even when I'm not pushing it in front of people, right? And so to be able to be a part of as many projects with Pray.com as that'd be the dream.
Amen, brother. I hope that happens.
Well, I can tell you, because I am a prophet in a different way, that you've made at least 3 of those items. I don't know their names, but I'm guessing they're going to bless every doorstep they land on. If you're their dad,
yeah,
they sound like cool kids.
Definitely. Yeah.
Well, Zak, it has been great to get to know you, great to get to hear your story and all the cool things and wonderful things that you're doing over there at Pray.com. And wish you much success, in the ministry, in furthering the Word of God and furthering the kingdom, but also personally, and raising those 3 boys, and obviously your lovely wife as well, and not raising your lovely wife, but being being a good husband.
She's raising me more.
But
more.
You're a cool dude, and I just really wish you a lot of success in all the ways that God would use you. So, thanks for coming on the show. And Mitch, any parting words?
I think you did a good job, Mike. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
We've only done emails, and getting to chat with you is super awesome. You're way cooler than... I mean, I knew you'd be cool, but shit. I'm going to swear now. Shit.
Yeah.
You're cool.
There he goes.
So, thanks for hanging out.
Appreciate you guys.
And
all right.
Goodbye.
And goodbye.
And farewell. And
all the things.
Okay. And salutations.
There it is.
Yes.
There it is.
There's, yeah. All right. There we go. All right. Bye then.